Okay, so first and foremost, I really just want to mention this absolute brilliant trolling job that they did on Attack on Titan. Now, I am somebody that likes the Attack on Titan ending. I actually really did enjoy the chapter. Check it out. Link will be in the description below, actually, if you want to see my thoughts on the final chapter of Attack on Titan. But I don't know what the full context is for this. It looks like it was an empty speak balloon bubble that somebody was able to kind of fill in, and it was some sort of contest. And the dialogue that they threw in was an absolute rip on one of the last moments in the final chapter of Attack on Titan. And it fits really well, and I love Leif Erikson just saying, "What the fuck are you talking about, Thorfinn?" Absolutely brilliant, really, really funny. And I say this as a fan of Attack on Titan and a fan of the last chapter. I can still find the humor in this and appreciate it. So I thought this was great. This was made the chapter worth it alone, even though it has literally nothing to do with the actual chapter. Just found it hilarious and really, really funny. So this chapter of Vinland Saga was really, really short and really only involves a quick conversation between the two Thorfinns and Avar. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. I pronounce a lot of these older names wrong, so forgive me for that. But yeah, it's a very, very short chapter that kind of reiterates some of the same points that Vinland Saga has talked about so far, continuing to go on with the idea of Thorfinn not having any sort of defense capabilities against the potential threat that the indigenous people here could possibly pose, which is kind of up in the air at this point. We don't really know which direction that it's going to go in. Now, just to jump ahead, the final panel of this chapter said that in the next chapter, the indigenous people will show up. And I guess that's probably going to be the term that we're going to be using to call them is indigenous people. So it's not going to be the Native Americans or anything like that. We're just going to call them indigenous of this area, which makes sense to me, and I'm perfectly fine with that. So I think this chapter was once again meant to set up the character of Avar and how much distrust he has in Thorfinn as a leader. And I don't really see Avar as a bad guy per se. There isn't really a lot of straight up just villainous bad guys in Vinland Saga because we are dealing with a time in history where violence, murder, war, slavery was all pretty much secondhand. So can you call these people evil for embracing the kind of worldscape that they're in? I don't know. That's kind of like up for you to decide. But we're building up the tension for Thorfinn and Avar, and we have this moment where I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. Basically what it goes down is Avar is saying, like, look, we should spend our resources to build another boat because what if we have to escape? What if we have to fight back? What if these people are not the friendly sort of inhabitants that you want to hope that they are? And this is sort of the moral conflict of what Vinland Saga is. This is what Vinland Saga is all about. It's like, how do you solve conflict without violence? And to push it even further, how do you defend yourself in the case where you don't want to have weapons, you don't want to be inviting violence, because just having weapons themselves and showing yourself as a powerful force could be threatening violence to begin with. Because the biggest thing here is that when you're meeting a new group of people, or how you meet somebody, is you want to say that you're not a threat. And at the same time, you want to show that you're not a weakling and you're not somebody to be walked over. When both parties aren't capable of knowing what the intentions of each other are, you're stuck in this weird gray middle zone where it's like, okay, I want to propose to you that I'm not a threat, so I'm defenseless, I'm weaponless, I don't have anything to attack you with, but what if you want to attack me and now I'm defenseless? It is this sort of intense moral conflict, and that's kind of the thing that I really love about Vinland Saga, and that's what I like, what does it mean to be a true warrior? Well, a true warrior, I believe, that Vinland Saga has always tried to get to is that exact sort of battle. It's that internal battle of how do you solve this problem without becoming a threat yourself. And I think that kind of like that question is a wonderful question to ask, and I think it's a great thing to talk about and try to figure out what is the best way to go about it. And of course, in our modern times, we're to the point where people have nuclear weapons back and forth, so it's a little bit more intense than it was back then. Back then it was very much, face to face. You had to actually fight somebody, I had to actually kill somebody, and in doing so and in getting indoctrinated into war, it really does kind of change your mindset and view on life and death and everything in between. But I also think Ivar has a great point when he says, what if they do try to attack us? You are responsible for all of these people. You're their leader. You should be looking at every single outcome. You should be looking at every single possibility and what you could do to protect them. Because at the end of the day, most of these people are farmers and builders and carpenters and everything. They're not prepared for battle. You have Thorfinn, you have Hild, and I guess Ivar and his friends are probably pretty well versed in fighting, considering they did smuggle weapons aboard somehow. So this is a great moment, but I think what brings it down is when Thorfinn asks Ivar if he enjoys war, and Ivar says, yes, of course I do, you're the only man that doesn't. And I think that sort of takes away a little bit of the argument back and forth that they were having, because I would say both parties are correct. Both parties are correct up until that moment, because Ivar is correct in wanting to have the capabilities in order to defend his crew, and Thorfinn is right, is like, we don't want to pose ourselves a threat to begin with. We want to show them that we'll welcome them with open arms and that we can all live simultaneously together. But by Ivar saying that he actually enjoys war, I think that brings it down a little bit, because it paints him in a little bit more of a barbaric light, and a little bit more of, I want, like a subtlety that he wants war to happen. Like, I can't wait for it to happen. When it does, I'll be okay with it. And I think that took away a little bit from the conversation that they were having, where otherwise I think they were on equal ground until that point. But otherwise, I really do like this moment where Thorfinn brings up the character of Canute. Now, he doesn't name drop Canute. We see this through basically how he phrases it in the one panel from seeing Canute from behind. And we know that Canute and Thorfinn sort of made a deal where they both want to abolish war, but Canute is doing it by obtaining as much as he possibly can, conquering, ruling, and then slowly phasing war out of these countries that he conquers. And so his whole way to do it is to take over everything so that he's in control and that he can make the rules everywhere, so there won't be any more war after he's done sort of expanding his reign and ruling over everything. Whereas Thorfinn's approach is much more pacifistic, where he's going to take a bunch of people that don't want war to an area outside of all that, away from everything, and start up a new world, basically. But I like the mention of Canute. I also thought it was funny that Thorfinn called Canute an old friend of his, because Thorfinn and Canute were never friends. Like, first of all, Thorfinn looked down on Canute when they were in Askeladd's group. He was like, why do I have to be around this person? They pretty much were the polar opposites of each other. You know, one that grew up in privilege and one that grew up in a warring state. And so they really didn't have anything to do with each other then. Then Thorfinn got taken away and sold into slavery, which, you know, Canute could have stopped but didn't. And then they met again at the end of the slave arc, where they sort of had this mutual thing, like, oh, we both want to get rid of war. Okay, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to do this my way, and you do your thing. So yeah, definitely not something I would consider friends between the two of them, but it's a good way for Thorfinn to tell the story, I guess. I also really wonder, because we haven't seen Canute in a long time, and with that we haven't seen Thorkel in a very long time, and I need more Thorkel. Thorkel, please. He lightens everything up when he shows up. That warmongering bastard, I miss him all the time. Even though the slave arc is my favorite and he's not really in that, when Thorkel does show up, it's just the greatest moments ever. And then the chapter does kind of end in an ominous way, where Thorfinn is thinking about, well, if there was anybody like Canute here on this land, you know, that would be a scary, terrifying thing. Somebody that would want to take over everything in that way, even if their mutual goal was to abolish war, the ways that they go about doing it. And then the chapter kind of ends on that ominous note with a message saying that in the next chapter we're going to get the indigenous people. So I'm super excited for that. Look, this chapter, not great, but I do like the theological discussion between Thorfinn and Ivar. I thought it was great. I just think that one moment of Ivar saying that yes, he loves war, but he could have also been saying that just to sort of save face. He could have also been saying that is to, you know, at least I'm not like a complete pacifist wuss like you are. You know, it could have been like an insult to Thorfinn, more so than how he actually feels. But we've seen this character sort of talk about this multiple times now, and we know he's being built up to be probably the primary antagonist, or the one that starts the battle between their group and the indigenous people to begin with. So, but at the same time, I mean, I see his point, and I don't hate him as a character at this point. I really don't. He hasn't really given me anything to make me hate him, because I understand where he's coming from. Even though I can see the story pushing him to be the antagonist, I'm not totally against him. I think he has some solid points. But what do you guys think? Down below in the comments below, let me know. I know the Vinland Saga reviews don't do very well on my channel, but god damn it, I love this series, so I'm going to review every damn chapter that comes out. I don't care. I don't care how many views you get. It doesn't matter. But if you would like to help me, please give the channel a thumbs up and comment below, because all that does help it be seen in the algorithm. Share it around to other Vinland Saga fans, perhaps. Maybe they'll get a kick out of it. That would be really cool. I actually started rereading Vinland Saga a little bit not too long ago, rereading through the slave arc, and man, the slave arc is just so good. It is just so good. Everything about the slave arc is perfection, and I hope that Vinland Saga can hit those peaks again someday. Anyways, guys, thanks a lot for watching this video. Really do appreciate it. Please leave all your thoughts and comments down below. Also, check out the links in the description below, because I do have a link to my merch store. I'd really appreciate it if you pick yourself up a shirt or a mug. Also, the Patreon and various social media accounts. Other than that, guys, hope you have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you next time.